up, you guys? I'm Charmx. Today I'm going to be reacting to Film Theory, How Pennywise Beat Pennywise, It Chapter 2 by the Film Theorists. Now, I don't know what to expect. The title makes absolutely no sense. What do you mean, How Pennywise Beat Pennywise? I've seen the movie. Pennywise, there's only one. What do you mean, Pennywise beat Pennywise? I don't understand. I think the title needs some work. It doesn't make sense. Whatever. Hopefully it's be quite awesome, though. The ending of the movie, however, it was kind of weird and, like, cheesy a bit. But besides from that, it was a really good movie. But, yeah, anyway. With that being said, the original link's in the description. Without any further ado, let's begin.
Don't get me wrong, I really enjoy the new It movies. Super creepy, great cast, striking imagery. But man, does it push the limits of believability. Cannibal space clowns from outer space living in small town Maine, fine. Intergalactic space turtles puking up the universe, been there, done that, no problem. What I'm talking about is this. Mike, in the movie, calls all of these people, and they all answer the phone, even though he's listed as an unknown number.
That's the most unbelievable part, that they'd actually answer. I guess I can kind of see where he's coming from. A lot of people don't answer, unknown numbers. But, you don't know how many times he called them, right? Like, he might have called, they didn't answer, so he just called again. If you keep doing it over and over and over, the person's eventually gonna pick up and like, what do you want?
That has got to be the craziest thing that happens in either of these two movies. I mean, what is this? Some kind of alternate universe where there's no spam callers? Because if so, I want to live there. Even if I do have to dodge a murder clown every couple of decades. Seems like a small price to pay. Hello, Internet! Welcome to Film Theory.
I like that intro.
It to fear is it itself. And maybe also fortune cookies stuffed with weird eyeball monsters.
Ew.
Today we're talking about
what was that?
movie franchise with the least optimized title for the internet, It. More specifically, we're looking at the ending of It Chapter 2, which everyone on the internet has tried to explain, and which everyone has failed in doing. Yeah, shots fired and all that, but honestly, I can't blame them. The ending as it's presented in this movie is weird and confusing and not super clear.
Yeah, that is, like, one of the main concerns or criticisms that I have towards the movie. Like, the movie's very enjoyable, but the ending, like, if you haven't seen It Chapter 2, this thing's probably going to be full of spoilers, so I'm just going to talk about it as if you guys have seen it. If you haven't, you don't want spoilers, probably don't watch this. But, like, it's been like a month since I've seen the movie, so my memory's not 100% clear on what happened because my memory's so bad. But in the ending, like, basically how they destroy the clown was they make the clown feel small by, like, insulting him. And the smaller he feels inside by them insulting him, he then shrinks in size because in the end, he's this massive creature. And they start insulting him and he starts shrinking and shrinking because that's how he sees himself until he's all shriveled up. I don't know, it's freaking weird. The ending was weird. I kind of wish they had... I don't know. I kind of wish they had thought the ending through a little more.
I don't think even the directors really knew what was going on. Anyway, as the plot goes, the main characters perform a ritual that has a wacky name, the Ritual of Chewed. It fails for reasons that go completely unexplained. The scary clown then transforms into a scary clown spider, and then a few CGI chase scenes later, the heroes are suddenly able to win through the power of negging. Again, through no apparent...
Yeah, just like, you're a loser. You're a poopy head. You want me to spell it out for you? Poopy head.
Reason that goes explained. That's a real good message, by the way. Be petty and mean and you can conquer the cosmos' greatest evil. But in all seriousness, the ending here is just flimsy. Why did the Ritual of Chewed fail the first time? What suddenly changed that allowed the Losers Club to suddenly be able to defeat the clown? If that ritual was gonna end up being pointless the entire time, were the repeated fetch quests to find tokens in the middle of the movie a complete waste of time too? Because if so, please why didn't you cut them? This was nearly a 3-hour movie.
Yeah, it was a really long movie. I think one of the other criticisms I'd have is that it seemed to drag on. Like the ending, there was like, I think the ending, like towards the ending, there was like 20 minutes that could have just been cut out because I think it was just unnecessary. Like there was like a good 20 minutes that shouldn't have been in it.
Bladder was about to pop at the end of this thing. But in all seriousness, I didn't really have an answer for any of these questions. Neither do other videos on YouTube. Heck, even Stephen King's original source material is wishy-washy on a lot of that stuff. But after seeing the movie a couple more times, this time with smaller, big...
You've seen it 4 times?
Gulps because I learned my lessons. I'm convinced that we all misunderstood the big climax of the Losers Club story. I've got a theory, a film theory, that for all of Pennywise's talk of the ritual of Chewd not working not only for the Losers Club, but also for the ancient native tribe who tried it before them, by the end of the film, the ritual of Chewd is indeed the reason he's able to be defeated. That the first failed ritual of the club, and that Pennywise's subsequent defeat, all boil down to two main things. One, the tokens that the losers collected weren't enough to complete the ritual, and two, one of them didn't even bring the right token to the fight. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, if that's the case, then no wonder why it didn't work properly. They didn't bring the right thing that they needed.
Of these bozos didn't even manage to snag their token in the first place. So today, let's take a moment to find out why the losers should have died and how they accidentally found their way to defeating the universe's scariest circus freak. In case you forgot, or more reasonably, just gave the ritual of Chewd a big ol' eye roll when you saw It Chapter 2, let's briefly recap, shall we? The ritual requires...
I can't stand the name, Ritual of Chewd. For some reason, it just makes me think of... I don't know why, but it makes me think of Chud. And I don't know what Chud is either. But just saying the ritual of Chud, it just sounds stupid. Oh, we're gonna do the ritual of Chud later. What the frick's that? It sounds kinky.
Each participant to bring a token of their past trauma to its underground lair. They're then meant to destroy the tokens, in the process trapping Pennywise, or more accurately his true form, the Deadlights, in an authentic tribal lantern.
Yeah, this weird light thing didn't make much sense either.
Mike clearly purchased from Pier 1 Imports. And it's this golden ticket hunt for tokens that sets us up on our extended sequence of mid-movie fetch quests, full of naked CGI grandma.
This is like, I hate this part, this naked lady part, and how she runs. Oh, no thanks.
And more over-the-top jump scares than a Five Nights at Freddy's game. Eddie finds his inhaler, Richie gets an arcade token, Bill recovers his dead brother's paper boat, Mike gets the rock that they used to fight against the town bully in the first movie, Bev gets the romantic haiku that Ben wrote for her when they were kids, and Ben reveals that he's still got the yearbook page Bev signed all those years ago.
So which one brought the wrong thing?
Send into Pennywise's lair, burn those items, or heat up Mike's rock, since, you know, it's a rock. The Deadlights descend into the lantern, and then nothing. Pennywise escapes immediately without any level of difficulty.
Yeah, like, why did that happen? Why did that happen? I really wish they kind of got, like, if there was 20 to 30 minutes that could have been cut, they should have used that instead to explain a little bit more of why things happened the way they did.
He taunts that the Native American tribe, the Shakapiwa, once used this same technique before, and that it didn't work then either. But, you know, at this point in the movie, Mike is a guy who literally brought all of his friends who are rich and successful and famous back to a bummer of a town to fight a killer cosmic clown, using a strategy that he knew failed the first time, so, you know, his word is kinda garbage at this point. But still, what the movie never really answers is what went wrong for the Losers Club.
Well, they are losers, so problem solved.
And for the whatchamacallit tribe from centuries before. Those are the mechanics of the ritual of Chewd after all, and that's exactly what they do. So is the ritual itself just flawed? Well, to understand, we have to first look at what the ritual actually means. It's not just about burning some stuff. It's about destroying your past. Mike's instructions to the group were technically true. Find and destroy the tokens of your traumatic past.
You said one of them brought the wrong token, though. Which one brought the wrong token? I don't know. For some reason, I'm thinking it's the inhaler, like for asthma. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know. That or maybe the rock. I don't know.
But he actually missed that the point of the ritual was to get over the things from your past that you're afraid of, because that is what it actually feeds off of. To truly destroy the things, not so much in a physical sense, but in a symbolic sense.
Oh.
Sure, the mechanics are physically destroying things, but to successfully perform the ritual of Chewd, you have to destroy the trauma associated with those things. TLDR, what Mike really should have done was have the gang enroll in a lot of therapy, and then once they dealt with their issues, then come back to town to destroy the...
That would have probably been easier. Also, now that you're saying it, destroy the things that cause trauma, I think the love letter that Bev had I don't think that had any trauma. So maybe that's the thing that was wrong the whole time.
Cosmic clown. But in all seriousness, if you look at these mid-movie fetch quests, sure, several members of the gang face some harrowing experiences to get their tokens, but do any of them actually overcome their fears in the process? Let me save you the thinking time. No, they do not. Bill is lured to a sewer by his dead brother Georgie's voice calling for help. Bill reaches in, desperately trying to rescue his brother, who again is dead. In the end, he fishes Georgie's boat out of the sewer after getting attacked by thousands of zombie baby hands.
Yeah,
so
that was
technically
I remember that. That was pretty disturbing.
got his token, but did this experience force him to overcome the fear and guilt that he still has about Georgie's death?
No.
In fact, it shows the exact opposite, that he's not over Georgie's death. Despite being an adult who knows that his brother is dead, he still clings to this belief that he can somehow rescue Georgie.
That was kind of annoying in the movie, how it's like, because as a movie watcher, you're like, well, obviously your brother is not alive. Don't put your hand in there.
He's living in denial. Sure, after that encounter, he manages to rescue the token, but the token is meaningless. Let's look at another example. Bev is able to grab Ben's postcard from the hiding spot in her old home, but the apartment is still haunted, literally by her history and the history of it, but also figuratively by the specter of fathers, both Pennywise and Bev's own father. Like Bill, she doesn't actually confront her fears here. She's just confronted by a giant naked CGI woman. She literally runs for her.
That was the scariest part of the movie.
Yo, let's just say that CGI old naked lady is not something I want to see again.
Her life, running away from Pennywise, running away from that old woman, running away from her father. All of it without achieving any sort of closure on her childhood abuse.
So if no one managed to get over their fear or whatever, how did it work out in the end? The more, like, you're bringing more to light, and now it's making me question the movie even more.
Same goes for Eddie, who faces the leper in the basement of the pharmacy.
Oh yeah, that was pretty disturbing.
He does what he needs to do to grab his inhaler token and then immediately runs away from the shop, afraid. Richie grabs his literal token of a token from the arcade, which honestly has almost nothing to do with his secret shame of being gay, something that we're going to touch on more here in a minute. Most of his token getting takes place in flashbacks, so he's not even dealing with his fears in real time, at least until the end of the scene where he finally also runs away from Pennywise, in broad daylight, in the middle of a public park. He tells himself that Pennywise isn't real, but when he opens his eyes, nope, Pennywise is still there, meaning that the fear is still there.
Chicken. I am now making chicken noises with my mouth, but not really because I can't pronounce them.
Showing pretty clearly that Richie still has demons that he doesn't want to talk about. Even Ben and Mike, the two losers who already had their tokens, haven't really gotten over the fears that those tokens represent. Ben, whose token is the yearbook page that only Beverly signed, has literally been carrying that page with him every day of his life.
It's kind of sad if you think of it. But what's the fear there?
Let me rephrase that. He's carrying a symbol of his loneliness and unrequited love on his person for over 20 years. Doesn't get more not over it than that. And as we see in the opening
I guess that's true.
scenes of the movie, adult Ben is still a loner. Sure, he's super rich and successful, but he's at home. He's alone in his massive house, refusing to attend meetings in person. He's isolated, just like he was when he was a kid. Isolated, and even when given the chance mid-movie, still hiding his true feelings about Bev. Still allowing her to think that it was Bill who wrote her that poem so many years ago.
Man, this guy has a sad life, but still not as sad as Charmx's.
And then there's Mike showing up with his rock, which honestly makes sense. But what is the true essence of that token? Mike's issue in the first movie was that he was shunned as an outcast. And even though it seems like he's been integrated into the town of Derry, he hasn't. He's the only one in town who knows what's happening and who hasn't forgotten his own past, making him an outsider. He's also the only member of the Losers Club to stay back in Derry, thereby making him an outsider again, but this time to his very own friends, the
More like an insider. Am I right?
losers. And then he lies to the whole group about the ritual of Chewed. He tells them that the ritual has worked in the past, but it hasn't. And that truth doesn't come out until Pennywise spills the beans at the end of the movie. Mike is ashamed and afraid to admit the truth to his friends. Clearly, he doesn't feel like he belongs here. So,
I still don't understand why he didn't, like, come out and admit that it didn't work before. Like, at that point, that sounds like you're really just putting their lives at risk for nothing.
Now that we've seen how the losers have overcome practically nothing by the end of the second half of this movie, it becomes a little clearer why their token burning during the final battle isn't effective. These objects are still just that. They're objects. They're hollow. They're meaningless. So when they burn, nothing happens. And so when Pennywise pops out in all his spider clown glory, it's not a shock. The ritual doesn't work because they did.
Yeah, see, that actually makes a lot more sense. Thank you for clearing that up. Because there was a lot that needed to be explained in this, especially at the ending, and I'm glad that you've cleared that up.
Believe. There was no substance behind what they were doing, and instead of getting rid of their problems, all they've gotten rid of are a couple of pieces of moldy paper and an old shower cap. So then how do the losers end up winning? What changes between this moment and the end of the movie? Well, now the gang actually has to get over their issues, and they have to do it in a hurry. And that's why the entire next sequence of the movie is all about the Losers Club yet again going on secret personal missions about their past trauma. Only this time when they're forced to confront that trauma, they get over it. For Mike...
Oh, okay. This is really helping me understand the ending a lot more than I did. Because although I liked the movie, and it was spooky at times, a lot of it didn't make sense, but this is really helping.
Pennywise already outed him, so as soon as he confesses to the group that he was actually lying about the ritual of Chewed and starts being an actual team player, well, Mike's in the clear. His friends learn the truth and they didn't abandon him. Boom, his token suddenly has meaning. The others in this sequence are a bit more complicated. Ben and Bev have to go through everyone's
This is a weird one. The one with like the Ben and Bev one. This is a weird one.
worst fears, getting buried alive and having to touch anything in a public restroom.
That's hilarious. That's funny. I like that. That's a good joke.
Ben is finally forced to let go of that torch he's been carrying for Bev all those years to avoid being literally buried in his past, while Bev confronts herself as an adult and lets go of her adolescent trauma so she can reach out in a literal and figurative sense to make another human connection with Ben. Bill, meanwhile, has to shoot himself with a sheep dart, which is just a weird moment that I don't want to linger on for risk of demonetization. But suffice it to say that the thing he's actually killing isn't a person, it's his guilt and shame over the loss of his brother.
That sounds like one hell of a therapy session if you ask me.
So with those four finally overcoming their issues, we cut back to the fight to find Eddie and Richie still mostly avoiding their problems, literally running away again from the scary not scary doors. And then Richie gets caught in the deadlights. Suddenly Eddie, whose fears this entire time have been imaginary diseases from his hypochondria, has to finally decide what the real danger in his life is. As a child, he was told that everything was dangerous, so overcoming his fear naturally...
Well, I mean, not everything's dangerous, but as a kid, a lot is dangerous. The world ain't a safe place. And you know what's really dangerous right now? The risk of me peeing my pants because I gotta go to the washroom really bad.
Involves the realization that it actually is all in his head. That loved ones being in trouble is the real thing to fear here. He convinces himself that the spear he's holding will damage Pennywise, and he throws it and it does, which shows us that Eddie now understands that he controls his own fate, that what he believes is true can become a reality. And in the process, Eddie manages to save Richie. Unfortunately for Eddie, though, it wasn't...
Yeah, spoilers! R.I.P.
all in his head, since it turns around and impales Eddie, making the official tally, it thousands, Losers Club still 0. But what Pennywise doesn't realize is that he's inadvertently sacrificed the last token on behalf of the Losers Club, because Eddie is Richie's true token. Remember when I said that we'd come back to this later? Well, Richie is the most interesting case out of all the Losers Club because not only has he not fully gotten over his fear, he's never really owned up to it in either movie in the first place. Richie's secret is that he's gay, but we're shown at the beginning of the movie that Derry is not exactly a woke environment. We see that Richie never talks about being gay. He actively hides it. He even masquerades as a straight guy in his stand-up routine.
So my girlfriend caught me
politely observing
her friend's Facebook page.
Lightly observing? Why was that dubbed over? Is that for comedic purposes or to censor something? I don't remember what he said originally.
During his treasure hunt midway through the movie, he picks up a literal token from an arcade, which, sure, is associated with a painful memory of being bullied, but the real token of his fear isn't a thing, it's a person. When Eddie sacrifices himself for Richie down in Pennywise's caverns, Richie finally realizes how much he truly loved Eddie, and how much their friendship has mattered to both of them. The death of Eddie is surprisingly...
Oh, so Eddie was the token. Well, you just said that, but now it makes more sense. Wow, you really freaking dug deep into this. This is a really good video. It explains so much about the movie that didn't make any sense.
Also, the destruction of the last token, Richie's token. In Eddie's death, Richie for the first time sees that you should show how you feel without fear, shame, and regret. And with that, suddenly all tokens are properly destroyed. All fears are properly overcome. Pennywise, by killing Eddie, delivers the thing that the Losers Club needed in order to complete the ritual of Chewed. This time, the right way. He inadvertently does himself in. If you think it's still a stretch that Eddie is the real final token here, well, look no further than the moments leading up to Richie being caught in the deadlights. Richie goes up and starts actively insulting Pennywise to its face, and it does nothing.
Hey,
Lame person.
you want to play Truth or Dare? You're a
Doo-doo head.
Pennywise is
Doo-doo head. I really like this film theory video. Also, with the ritual of Chud or whatever. Chud. Since now all the tokens are actually work with getting rid of them or whatever. What was supposed to happen in the actual ritual? Because in the actual ritual, if it would have worked properly, would that have been the end of it? Because if that would have been the end of it, if the tokens got rid of or whatever, then as soon as the tokens here in the movie, were gotten rid of, and after Richie dies or whatever, shouldn't it just have, disappeared? Why do they have to start insulting him? Is that also part of the ritual where they gotta demean him or something as well? And then at the very end, they just start, choke him to death. It's freaking weird.
is getting insulted here, and yet he is not affected by it in the slightest. But if we fast forward exactly 4 minutes later in the movie, the losers defeat him using the exact same technique, insulting the clown to death. So what happened in between those two moments? The only major change to happen in that 4-minute span is Eddie's death. The book and the movie of it have pretty different representations of the ritual of Chewed and all the events leading up to it. But there's one piece of the story that remains true in both versions. The losers can't defeat it until Eddie dies. He dies the same way in both versions too, and after he does, and only after he does, are the losers able to defeat it, either by punching Pennywise to death like in the book, or verbally abusing him to death until he's like a deflated balloon like in the movie. Everything else...
Don't forget that he doesn't completely go away until they take his heart out of his chest, Indiana Jones style.
around the ritual can change, but Eddie's death has to remain in the story because it's his act of love that helps Richie overcome his fears. The movie closes with Richie finishing the carving he made when he was younger, R+E, with the message that you should be who you want to be and be proud. And that, my friends, is how Pennywise defeated himself and what everyone, including the Losers Club themselves, misunderstood about the ending of It Chapter 2.
Yeah, I did. This helped so much with clearing up everything, because the ending of it didn't make much sense. But I'm really glad I reacted to this, because it's brought a whole new light to the movie. And it makes me think that they actually knew what they were doing in the movie, because, there's so much of the movie that's like, well, why did they include this? Why did they include that? But I think this really clears up why things were included that I thought that they didn't need to include.
But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory.
Anyway, I hope you guys like this video. I really enjoyed this, and I'm so glad that that Matt made this, because it clears up so much of the confusion I had regarding this movie. I still don't understand, in the actual ritual, if the burning of the tokens or whatever would have worked, what happens after that? If the ritual, the burning of the tokens worked, shouldn't Pennywise then have been destroyed, right? Shouldn't that not have happened in the original ritual? But in the movie, after Richie gets... I think it's Richie that gets... after the character dies and all the tokens are now destroyed, shouldn't Pennywise have then been... as well? Because the ritual should have been complete? Did they need to insult him to they did to make him smaller or whatever? Did they need to do that? Like, if the ritual was complete after the character died, shouldn't Pennywise have then just disappeared? So is there something I'm missing there that, I don't know. But whatever. I hope you guys like this. I really like this theory. I think I'd rate this theory out of a 10. I don't know. It was really good. It explained a lot. Except for that little bit question I have regarding did they have to insult him. So I think I'd rate this theory out of a 10, probably like an 8.5. Yeah, make sure you guys go subscribe to the Film Theorist if you enjoyed this. If you're new, subscribe to the family. I'll see you guys next time.